Welcome. We are on our way to Beatrice, Nebraska. And before you decide to comment, that is the correct pronunciation. According to the official Nebraska website, named after a settler's daughter who insisted that her name be pronounced Beatrice. Beatrice is the location of Homestead National Monument of America, a unit of the National Park System, which commemorates the passage of the Homestead Act of 1862, which allowed any qualified person to claim up to 160 acres of federally owned land in exchange for 5 years of residency and the cultivation and improvement of the property. On the outside wall of the Visitor Center are the states of the United States which offered homestead property. The size of the land offered is the cutout in each state. Can you pick out your state? The Visitor Center is two-story, with the entrance story being the Info Center, store, and orientation film. The lower level are the exhibits. The tractor on the main level is owned by Ken Deerdorf. In June 2001, the Bureau of Land Management and the National Park Service worked together and recognized Deerdorf as the nation's final homesteader. He received his paperwork for homesteading in 1988. This is a display of all the pins for all the national parks, monuments, and historic sites. I never knew there were so many, and I thought I've been to a lot, but I still have a ways to go. An allusion has been made to the Homestead Law. I think it worthy of consideration, and that the wild lands of the country should be distributed so that every man should have the means and opportunity of befitting his condition. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln signed the Homestead Act into law in 1862. The museum contains tools, shows the ingenuity and the hard times and the success and the failures of the early homesteaders. Also highlighted is the United States treatment of the Native Americans, who could not understand the concept of private property, and the struggles and turmoils that these Native Americans encountered. We'll take a few seconds here and just wander around the museum and look at our homesteaders' past. Fortunate for history, photography was around to help document the early pioneers. The museum offers a splendid display of home life on the frontier, from weddings to schools to everyday life. Here we are highlighting the first homesteaders and the last. Here are some copies of land deeds, which took sometimes years to secure. Outside of the visitor center, there are miles and miles of miles and miles. Also on the grounds is a unique barbed wire exhibit. If you look close at the barbed wire, you can see the differences. Also on the grounds is an original cabin. Let's listen in.
Life on the Prairie Homestead. What was it like? Herbert Palmer remembers. In the 1870s, he was born in this cabin, which was originally located on a homestead 14 miles from here. Mr. Palmer was the youngest of 10 children.
There were no roads laid out at that time. Just followed the cow paths to Bears. If I remember right, there was only 3 houses in the jail. Well, Father had a team oxen named Old Buck and Bright, and he just had a plow, one plow, and then he'd turn them oxen out of a night, get up and go out maybe for an hour or two before he could find them. There was no fences or nothing, you know, then. And heavy dews nights, come in there and he'd sit down and eat breakfast, and the water run out of his trousers on the floor, and we'd have to get up and take our lunch out and stay out on the prairie all day and herd sheep. So I always figured on the farm that we could get caught up once. There used used to be, you know, there was nothing to mow weeds or anything, and you could lay down and sleep a little while. If it was raining hard, and then pick up the scythe and mow the fenced rows and all that.
If you take some time and stroll the grounds, you'll find a nice pond to relax by. Leaving Homestead, we crossed under the archway exhibits. We did not stop this time. The next time out, we will. We are on our way to North Platte, Nebraska, where there is the world's largest train yard called the Golden Spike. The large tower is for observation. The cost per person was $7. This is the Bailey Yard, the world's largest railroad classification yard. Personnel there sort, service, and repair locomotives and cars headed all across North America. Owned and operated by the Union Pacific Railroad, the yard is named after former Union Pacific President Ed H. Bailey. Bailey Yard is halfway between Denver and Omaha. It covers a total of 2,850 acres and is over 8 miles in length and 2 miles wide. The yard has 200 separate tracks holding 315 miles of track, 985 switches, 766 turnouts, and 17 receiving and 16 departing tracks. Union Pacific employs more than 2,600 people in North Platte, most of whom are responsible for the day-to-day operation of the Bailey Yard. And just how loud is the train yard? Well, let's listen. Yes, that was very loud. On the average, 139 trains and over 14,000 railroad cars pass through Bailey Yard every day, and the yard sorts approximately 3,000 cars daily, using the yard's 2 humps. The eastbound hump is a 34-foot tall mound, and the westbound hump is 20 feet high. These are used to sort 4 cars a minute into one of 114 bowl tracks, 49 tracks for westbound trains, and 65 for eastbound. The bowl tracks are used to form trains headed for destinations across North America, including east, west, and Gulf Coast of the United States and the Canadian and Mexican borders. Let's just take a few seconds and look around the world's largest train yard. As we see the Tiger parked in the distance, this is where we spent the night, and we say goodbye, and as always, thanks for watching.